welcome everyone here. I'm new here at the Utah Women Leadership Project, and I'm so excited that I get to come to these events. I just feel like a sponge. I just kind of drink it all up. So we've got two wonderful speakers tonight. First, we have Patty Cook. Patty, raise your hands so everybody knows who you are. Patty has a background in corporate event management and nonprofit community engagement. She has spent decades gathering people from a variety of industries, creating impactful programming, and facilitating conversations. She graduated with a BA in English Sociology from Brigham Young University and is currently the advocacy educator for Action Utah. She believes every voice matters and creates opportunities for people to understand how to successfully advocate at any level. Her policy interests include affordable housing, maternal mental health, air quality, and women and families. When not at home with her husband and 3 children, she can be found perusing the psychology aisle of her local bookstore. And then we have Andrea. Andrea, raise your hand. Andrea Himoff is the executive director of Action Utah, a nonpartisan community advocacy organization boosting civic engagement on top issues like climate change. She was previously an award-winning filmmaker and author of environmental blog Everyday Earthiness. In 2018, Andrea was named Utah Nonprofit Association's Emerging Nonprofit Leader of the Year. And when this is over, there are refreshments served, I think, just sort of across the way. So feel free to grab food, and if you want to come back here and sort of continue the discussion after, that's fine. So let's turn the time over to you two.
All right, I'm going to use this for the video's sake. Hi, thanks so much for being here. We are so excited to talk to you tonight about community engagement for women. We talk a lot about engagement at all different levels at Action Utah. And so for those of you who are not familiar with us, Action Utah is a nonpartisan community advocacy organization empowering Utahns to get civically engaged in order to impact the issues that you care about most. We do that by providing education, resources and tools, and advocacy opportunities at the federal, state, and local level on a wide variety of issues. Now, I've co-founded this organization in 2016 when I, like some of you in this room, was just a working mom, and I wanted to get more engaged, and I had no policy background, no advocacy background whatsoever, and I really just wanted to make civic engagement easier and more accessible for people like me. And now, almost 3 years later, we have nearly 6,000 members across the state, representing 100% of congressional districts and 98% of state legislative districts. So it's been quite a ride, and it's been an incredible honor and privilege to work with legislators and advocates, and particularly community members across the state who, I don't know, it's just not changing slides. We don't know.
User error. Just kidding.
Yeah, clearly user error. Anyway, it's been such an honor to work with community members, helping them get engaged and seeing every day what a huge difference people can actually make. While he's working on that, I can continue on. We hold at least 60 events every year, events and speaking engagements like this to train community advocates. And those trainings can look a lot of different ways. It can be like this, or people invite us into their homes all the time to do living room conversations. Oh, you're going to go through all my documents now, right? I don't know. That's not the presentation. No, that's not it. That's someone else's presentation. Anyway, we hold lots of different types of events. So some are these living room conversations that people invite us into their homes to talk about civic engagement or issues specifically that you care about. We have a cohort going through our advocacy boot camp right now of people who want to get the fundamentals of policy advocacy and candidacy. We have a leadership development program where we are mentoring and training community members who are interns and fellows to become the future leaders. You need some help? Woohoo!
Oh, right on. That'll be a burger? 2 burgers now.
Oh, I owe you. And finally, we also do a lot of different, here, Action Utah, This Is Us, starting this in 2016. We also do a lot of different seminars, including our upcoming Civil Talk series with the Hinckley Institute, which will kick off next week, when we'll get to talk about practicing civility in political conversations. So I want to invite Patty to come on up and work with me on this presentation. We're talking about different ways that you guys can get engaged, starting with various different issues that might matter to you. Do you want the mic?
Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Hello.
How you doing? You ready for this? You see what happens? Like, stuff happens. Are you ready in advocating? Like, stuff happens. But did you see how gracefully she just went with it? If she had like a short bio, it would be just rock star. Just refer to her as rock star. Okay, we've got big hair downstairs and we've got rock star here. So you've heard a little bit about Action Utah and what we do. We're nonpartisan, we're community engagement, and for a moment we want to focus on you, on what matters to you, what brought you to this class, or what issues are percolating in you that you're like, I've got to speak up on this, I've got to say something about this. We want to talk about that for just a minute. Of course, this is not an inclusive list, but maybe gender wage gap, maybe maternal education or higher education or maternal mental health, childcare standards or air quality. Whatever it is, the first step in really digging into advocacy is deciding like what you care about and what your story is around it. So let's take a minute. I want you to turn to the person on your right. Those of you, will you go back here and talk to her? Those of you who don't have somebody on your right, turn to the person on your right and say, hi, my name is Patty, and I'm really interested in the gender wage gap because, or hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm really interested in air quality because. Or if you don't have an issue that's like percolating, or if you're terrified right now, I encourage you to rise up and like, this is just someone next to you. You can say, hi, my name is Patty, and I came to this class because I want to learn more, or because I'm afraid to speak up, or because I am an advocate and I want to do more. Okay, so we're going to just take a minute each. So we'll give you 2 minutes to either talk about an issue you care about or what you want out of this class, and then we'll share. Okay, everybody got it? Everybody have a partner? Anybody don't have a partner? Okay, go for it. All right, thank your partner. Wrap it up. How was it? Did anyone die stating who they were and what they feel is important? Nobody ran from the room screaming like it was terrifying. So congratulations, we're well on our way to advocacy. I would love to hear at least someone who has an issue they want to state for us, for everybody, and someone who, why did you come to this class? What brought you here? Any brave soul want us to speak to either one of those? Yeah, right here in the blue. And kind of make it short because I kind of have to restate for the people in the...
It's really fine. So I recently went to the UN conference and...
Here in Salt Lake.
Here in Salt Lake, yeah. They had it for UVU to go for free and a lot of other of the college students. And it was an incredible experience. And I've always been an advocate, but that really nailed down what I want for the world. And I think as a Western culture, we don't understand a lot of things that are happening, especially for women in the world, and how a lot of them don't have the education opportunities that we have here. So that was something that I became even more of a feminist, because I realized the real word of feminist, which is just gender equality, essentially. So.
Excellent. So you're thinking small is what you're saying. Really on a micro scale. She said she went to the UN conference recently, and it really helped expand her view of women in the world and what are we doing together. Thank you so much. I love it. And your name? April. I love that she claimed that she's always been an advocate. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
My focus would be on the immigration and the social impact it has when families aren't able to assimilate. There's breakdown of the family unit from one generation to the other, and finding ways to help bridge that gap and prevent that breakdown from happening.
I love it. Did you hear that? Can you tell she's spoken about that before? It was pretty succinct. Congratulations. What's your name? Trissa, thank you for sharing. She talked about immigration and the breakdown of families and the impact that that would have on people. Let's see. Is this working? What do I press here?
Yeah, press down.
Down. Okay. All right. So it is imperative for you to have a voice. I loved what the speaker said before us about how important using your voice is, and that fear is the beginning of courage. Because right now, I don't know if you knew, we're in a super hyper-partisan state, right? Politics is charged, even with perhaps family, even perhaps with friends. So it's a charge. So we want you to have a voice, because the more voices we have, the more perspectives we have, the more we can heal this polarization and hyperpartisanship, the more we can balance out extremist voices. One thing that led me into Action Utah is I have friends in many different parties, and they all felt like their voice was not being heard, which I thought was crazy. How is everyone feeling like their voice isn't being heard? And then also we want to create greater alignment between voters and those who are elected. And we only do that when we all speak up together and feel like we all have a place to speak up. Okay, so why is it important for you, and you women supporters back there, I'm assuming in the back, for women to have a voice? First of all, women broaden agendas, including prioritizing key elements like education, healthcare, and access to basic necessities that might be overlooked. Second, women have access to different information. If you've ever had a conversation with your husband or significant other, you know this is true. And community networks than men do, giving them a unique perspective on society's problems and needs. And then also decisions that determine the future course of a community, a region, or a country should be made by the people it affects, and that includes women. The state of Utah, we're at 49% women. We need to be included in what's happening. Women are also very collaborative in how we reach problems, right? And how we access things. We're gatherers. We bring people to the table. We say, what do you think about that? And what has been your experience? And that's not always what happens. So it's important for women to get involved. Okay, so I hope if you're sitting there thinking that your voice doesn't matter, or that one voice doesn't matter, we say 110% that we do not believe that. That has not been our experience. Malala, did I say that right? She is an activist, right? Young, has her voice mattered? Do you all know who that is right there? Yeah, you do. She said, I believe in the power in the voice of women. And then also on the other side, yes, in the back, 16-year-old from Sweden that just talked to the UN about climate change. Does her voice matter? Yeah, your voice matters. Please use it to heal what is happening so that we can get policies moving forward to represent all of us.
At Action Utah, we've identified 5 basic ways that people can get engaged. They're pretty simple. Get educated, take action, vote, build relationships, and maybe even run for office. So we're going to go through all 5 of these right now, starting with getting educated. Now that you guys have sort of talked about some of the issues that matter to you, if you're thinking about an issue on your mind that you want to make a difference on, get some more information about it. You can read news articles, you can look for organizations that are working on this issue, and sign up for their email lists. It can be very fun and gratifying to learn more. A couple of the sources that we like to give to people are, of course, Action Utah, because we do cover so many issues, and if you're a person like me who cares about more than one, this is a really good place to start, because you get to see a lot of different issues going on around the state, and these are the issues that data shows Utahns care about the most. But also 2 state resources, le.utah.gov is the state legislative website. This is where you can find out who represents you at a state legislative level, how to track a bill, how to find out what's going on Capitol Hill. And for people who are not in Salt Lake or not in Salt Lake all the time, how to watch and listen in as public hearings and votes are happening on the Hill, live or after the fact. So it's a great resource. And the other is the Lieutenant Governor's website, vote.utah.gov, which will give you all your ballot and polling place information. You can register to vote there. You can also find out every single elected official who represents you from the local level all the way through the federal level and how to contact them. So this is a really important resource if you ever want to advocate at any level of government. But once you know what this issue is that you're interested in my bio, they said I work on things like climate change. That's one of my big issues personally, and luckily we get to work on it at Action Utah as well. Well, what are the facts and statistics that could make advocacy around that issue stronger if I knew them rather than if I didn't? What is there a compelling story for why I am personally interested or invested in that issue? What messaging can I use that will be resonant for the target audience I'm trying to reach with my advocacy? Do I use the words that I truly believe in, that are maybe sounding progressive, or do I use the words that sound more conservative when I'm reaching out to a conservative legislator, and vice versa when I'm speaking to a progressive legislator if I'm looking at state policy around climate change? So those are some of the things to think about, and particularly what precise change is it that I want to see? So looking at my example, I care about climate change. I would like to see some proactive climate solutions. That's pretty simple, right? But then I get to think about, well, what are those proactive climate solutions? Maybe I know enough now, because I've gotten myself educated, that I want to see some carbon pricing. Let's just throw that out there. Okay, well, where do I want to see that? So then we have to kind of choose, where is it we want to get engaged? Do I want to see that in my local city? I'm from Park City. Could they pass carbon pricing? Would it do much? Probably not. So how about at the state or the federal level, where they have proposed those pieces of policy in both places? I could choose one of those, and that helps inform what my actions are that I want to take, what kind of messages I'm going to craft so that I can be effective working on this issue that I'm looking at. And other places that I can look to are not only our government structures, but also the agencies and departments and the boards and commissions that are all part of our government organization, but we don't think of as much. These are all places where we can advocate. So when we're coming to the idea of advocating on an issue, it's important to think about all the different ways that advocacy can look like, but also what those policy initiatives could look like that would implement the kind of change we're looking at. So when I said carbon pricing, well, that's legislation, right? It's legislation either at the state level or the federal level. And there's a zillion examples of what legislation can look like, but it can happen in city government too. But another type of policy initiative is an executive order. So an example of an executive order might be when President Obama ordered that the methane rule be created to cap methane emissions. And then another executive order that President Trump ordered was to eliminate the methane rule. So one president, another president, same rule, but they issued executive orders. So that's at the federal level. But that can also happen at the local level. So local city mayor Jackie Biskupski created an executive order setting a goal to transition the city's fleet of vehicles over to alternative fuel vehicles. That's also an executive order. So these are different places we can advocate. Another place is regulation. So within our agencies and departments at the federal, state, county, city level, there are rules being created all the time that creates policy within that agency. So the methane rule is one example that I brought up. It's actually regulation. It's a rule. It was created by the directive of one president. It was eliminated by another. It's shaped and crafted by sometimes court decisions, but it's rules. And another example would be Governor Herbert recently directed the Department of Commerce and Labor to create a rule that would eliminate the practice of conversion therapy on youths. This is something that was contemplated in legislation. It didn't pass, and Governor Herbert said, you know what, I want this to happen. I'm going to have it done through regulation because it's just as effective that way. Whether you agree with it or not, these are different ways to create policy. Another is organizational initiatives. So Weber State University, for instance, has a nationally renowned sustainability goal. That's internal policy. Or Adobe has a goal to transition to 100% renewable energy. That still moves the needle on those issues, right? Then there's public-private partnerships like the Zero Suicide Initiative that Intermountain Healthcare has with the state of Utah. Or a community initiative like the straw ban that happened, the plastic straw ban that happened around Salt Lake that was driven by the Salt Lake Air Protectors. These are all different issues that have been impacted in all these different ways. So when you're thinking about advocacy, you can think about the different ways they can be impacted, and then that they can be impacted with these types of policy within different parts of our systems, right? So let's go through these systems really quick. This is what the federal government looks like. We can maybe remember from 5th grade civics that we have a 3-part government with checks and balances. The executive branch, who does the executive orders, the legislative branch, who does legislation, though they need the approval of the executive branch, and then the judicial branch that can shape and mold these policies and laws that are passed, and sometimes even repeal them because they may be unconstitutional. And then there's the agencies that are truly part of the executive branch below, but that have the regulation, a number of topics and issues that we care about. This is the federal government. Look, the state government is pretty much the same. Difference is we've got a governor in the executive branch and a state legislature in the legislative branch, but we still have the agencies and boards and commissions. Same thing with the county government, same thing with the city government, but it's important to remember that we can be advocating at any of these levels and in any of these branches. Are any of you interested in education advocacy or education issues? Thank you. Good. Okay, so this one looks a little bit different. It's not that we can't advocate in these different places, but we also have parent communities. We have school community councils. We have local school district boards. We have the state school board. We have legislators who work on this issue, and they even have an education interim committee and standing committees, so there's legislators who specifically study education issues. So there's kind of a separate group of people that we can go to for education issues besides what I've already gone through just now. I don't know, you guys, it just doesn't want to go. And then, I'll just keep going. Beyond that, there are some local offices. If you have issues you want to work on at the local level, that you should be aware of, that it's not just a city mayor or a city council or a city manager. There's all kinds of people who work in our city government who are elected, who represent us, including a sheriff, an attorney, an assessor, a clerk. And these are people who are making decisions and implementing policies that really impact us on a daily basis. So being aware of all the different places we can engage is really important. I'm gonna pass it over to you while I try and fix it.
Deal.
All right.
Okay, so I will just walk. So the next thing, so once you get educated and you kind of know where you want to go, what you're interested in, the next part is to experiment, to take some actions around those issues. So where can we experiment? There's many places. We're probably going to talk about 4 or 5, but before we do that, I want to call your attention to something we call bridge building or barnstorming. Have you guys ever heard those terms before? Bridge building or barnstorming? Barn burning, not to be confused with bra burning. Thank you. Yes, bridge building and barnstorming. Okay, both are needed. Okay, please remember that as I continue to talk here. Barnstorming is protests, marches, sit-ins, things like that, okay? The goal of barnstorming is for the public awareness, who will then hopefully pressure the legislators to change policy, right? Who has participated in barnstorming activities? Yes. Who thinks that you are a barnstormer? Like that's how you approach your issue? Kind of, sort of. Okay, nobody's claiming it. That's good. Kind of, yeah. So there's also bridge. What? You have to in Utah. That is interesting. Let's talk about that for a minute. Is that true? We've talked about that many times where if you're a minority in a majority state, do you have to just be a barnstormer? Maybe sometimes it feels like it. We'll get to that. We've got some examples of that a little later, but keep that in your mind. Okay, bridge building. Bridge building is civil. It is, not that the other isn't civil, but you know what I mean. It is relationship building, it's conversational, it is finding the common ground, and that works directly with policy makers, right? Now these two can come in handy because bridge builders can be working on something and maybe it's not going anywhere, so they need a barnstorming friend or they need a barnstorming organization and to say, hey, we can't barnstorm, but would you do a protest so people know what's going on? And vice versa, barnstormers are like, hey, we did this protest and we had 1 million people there, but we don't know if any of them are registered to vote. If they vote, if they even know what the policies are that are spinning out of this protest. So that's when you get your bridge building friends and you say, hey, let's have some conversation with some people who can move the needle. Does that make sense? And that both are definitely needed. So if you're a barnstormer, get a bridge builder friend. If you're a bridge builder, get a barnstormer friend, okay? Because they go hand in hand. Okay, so one of the ways that you can take action is you can write a letter to the editor. It only takes 200 words, okay? All of you have written something at least 200 words. It's good you can educate the public, you can create publicity for an issue, get attention from elected officials, because they do read them, or you can send them to them, impact policy decision, and influence votes. Who's written a letter to the editor? Oh, excellent. 3. That's awesome. Congratulations. And for those of you who haven't, what are some reasons why you haven't? Because it didn't get printed?
Because it will be printed.
Oh, because it will be printed. People will know what you think. Are you scared? Or maybe you're scared of your writing ability? Maybe you don't know what to say? Yeah.
Trying to likely figure out the difference between the letter to the editor, lead, where to submit things, and then they have an opinion page. And I get stuck, and I can't figure it out, and then I give up. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's very honest. Do you want to speak to that?
I'm really glad you brought that up. Letter to the editor and an op-ed are two different but similar things. A letter to the editor is about 200 words, and every publication will have like a slightly different word count, so you want to know where you're submitting. Anyone can write one, and it will be signed Andrea, Park City, Utah, or something, you know? It's not going to tell you who I am or what I believe in or anything like that. It's just going to be those 200 words. It can be less. Some are really effective at 100 words. Less is better, and you can say whatever you can with one subject only in a letter to the editor. Now, an op-ed is longer. It's about 600 words, and generally that will be more fact-based with data. They are generally written by people who have some expertise in that area, but they can be written by anyone. Our interns and fellows who are just college students, sometimes high school students, can write an op-ed as long as they just do some research, you know? So it's kind of like you can have some sources that you send to the newspaper if you do include factual information that they can double check and make sure that you are factual in your op-ed. But you can write about the same topic you would write a letter to the editor with. It's just a different word count. And so they'll look at it for those criteria of, does this seem like it is a well-researched, well-informed piece of writing versus just flat-out opinion? So if I write an op-ed and I say, I'm a mom and my kids came home the other day and they were saying this and I don't think that's right, that's probably much better for a letter to the editor than it is for an op-ed. Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you. Rockstar. So it just depends on where you want to jump in. And because this is short, we encourage you to get to the point, to have some facts or statistics that back it up, and also to have a call to action. So people know, what are you for it or are you against it? What are you doing? And if you write one and it's not taken, please write another one. Please consider it a roaring success that you wrote it in the first place, right? Just try it again if this is your thing, if you want to try that out. Okay, attend a town hall meeting. Who's been to a town hall meeting? Oh, excellent, I love it. So town hall meetings are where either people from the national scene can come from DC and tell you what's happening there and then get your opinions back, or people from the state level can tell you, or even your city councils, right? Same thing. It's important to show up, to get informed. If you're still in the education phase, just sit and listen. If you're in the action phase and you want to do something, experiment with an action, ask some questions. I suggest you go in and make sure that you meet at least one person. Whoever, if you're sitting next to someone, introduce yourself, right? Hi, my name is Patty. I'm interested in air quality. What are you here for? Okay, make sure you're talking to people. Make sure who's ever there, whose ever town hall meeting it is, you go talk to them. Introduce yourself, show them your face so that they know. That's one way to advocate. Okay, become a delegate for your chosen party. Anyone been a delegate? Okay, one of the roles of action is to demystify the system. And becoming a delegate, there's a lot of mystery around it. Yes, thank you. So, delegates are important within all of the parties because delegates are who vote to put whoever on the ballot, okay? Whether that is a state ballot or whether that is a national ballot, delegates vote to put people on the ballot. You can become a delegate in your party of choice. It happens every March. And you can join a neighborhood caucus or a precinct district, or they call it different things, but you can go there and you can make a pitch as to why you'd be a good delegate. You invite some of your friends so that they can vote for you, and then you can go on, right? And get to know about who's gonna be on the ballot, who you're gonna vote for. But if you wanna learn about your party leadership and what's happening there, being a delegate is a really important way, and not one that a lot of people know about. Remember that extremist voices on both ends are kind of controlling things. One thing that would help this is if more people became involved in becoming a delegate. Okay, so look for that upcoming in March. Okay, attend a school board meeting. There is a state school board, there's district school boards, and then there's your community council, right? I love this second part. The word public in public school refers to the fact that it is the citizens themselves who control the public schools. Do you feel that way? I try and tell my kids that. I have a junior high and elementary, and I say, if you have problems, you come to me because I own the school. And they're like, Mom. Okay, so it's not totally true, but it is true to a certain point, right? So if you care about education, you can get involved here. Again, same thing. Show up, get to know the people, make sure you say hello to people. If you're there to listen, listen. If you're there, you have questions, please ask them. The interesting thing about district schools, I took Alpine, and there's 75,000 students in the Alpine district, and they have 3,000 teachers, compared to Provo, who have 6,000 students and 600 teachers. So depending on where you live, your ability to interact and what they're talking about on a district level will be different, right, based on the needs of those districts. Okay, participate in community lobbying. This is where you advocate or educate around a specific issue in order to convince a legislator to support or oppose a bill. How many lobbyists? Wannabe lobbyists. You in the blue shirt seem like you should be a lobbyist. You do? Okay, I say that as a compliment. So in order to do community lobbying, you've got to know whose faces are you looking for, right? Who can make a difference? We have 29 senators, 75 representatives for 104 legislators in the state of Utah. Who knows what the population of Utah is? Yeah.
Something over 3 million.
Okay, around 3 million. And how many legislators do we have? 104. How many female legislators? Yeah, 20, 23. So is there room for your voice? Do you just have a lived experience that they do not have, just simply by being who you are? Absolutely, okay? 3,104,000. They are not experts on anything. They need your voices to teach them what you feel about things, how your neighbors feel about things, okay? They are part-time, which means that our legislative session is 45 days in the beginning of January to March. They're there on the Hill all day. You can go talk to them. You can stand in the lobby and call them out from either the House or the Senate floor to talk to, hence lobbying. Just stand in the lobby and talk to them about something that matters to you. Also, during the year, there's interim sessions that happen monthly on the third Wednesday. Is that right, the third one? Yeah. Of every month, where there will be committee meetings. You can come up to the Hill and listen. I think they're fascinating because then you can see how your legislators interact with one another. Are they nice to each other? Are they kind of snippy? Do they pay attention in their committee meetings, right? It's real. I didn't have any idea, but I have found that super fascinating to just go up one day a month and see what happens. Pick a couple committee meetings and sit in on them. And if you can't come up, you can always do it online anytime. You can log on remotely. I put an earbud in my ear, I turn it on while I'm doing carpool, and I listen to what's happening in a committee where I'm like, I want to know what's happening there, right? Because people are going to be testifying for both sides. And if I want to be educated on an issue, I want to hear both sides while I'm trying to form an opinion. So that's a good place to go. Okay, great tool is the state legislative website. They have a calendar there that you can check out what's going on. They have agendas there for all the committee meetings. You can find out your legislators, what bills they've worked on, what they're going to be working on, what they care about. Those kind of things all can happen there. If anybody ever been to this website? Yeah? Okay, good. If you haven't, you won't offend me if you take out your phone right now and just put it in there. So if you're looking for it later, it'll come up in your browser. But that's a good resource. And then we also advocate for one-pages. Like I said, they're part-time. They have other jobs. There's 104 of them. If you have something that you have researched, that you've got statistics on, a compelling story on, and your name and number, send it to them. You can email it to them. When you call them out to talk in the lobby, you can give it to them. Okay? And then when they're like, oh, that constituent came, what did she talk about? Then they have a one sheet that they can refer to that has all the information, or that they can contact you for further information, okay? So that's really important when you're advocating to get, and it also helps you tell your own story better if you have to put it in form, okay?
Number 3, remember when we were talking about voting way back then? Voting is underrated. It is one of the most important things that we can do. There is a trend of low voter turnout in Utah, and I always say when fewer people are voting, your vote counts more. In addition, we have legislative races in Utah that are determined by as few as 5 votes. 5 votes. That means the people in this room right now could determine the outcome of that race by simply voting. Half the people in this room could determine the outcome of that race. It's really that critical. Your voice really does matter. And I think it can be pretty shocking to find out how many people you may know, and there may be people in this room, and this is not to shame you, who are not registered to vote. It is really, really easy to do so, however, so this is the good news, and I put it right here. Register to vote. You could do it right now, and you won't offend me either. Just simply by texting VOTERIZE to 788-683. It's that simple. It takes 3 minutes or less. So that's a great thing to do. Register, share this information with others so that they register, and then vote. And voting means making a commitment to vote. Does anybody know when the next election is going to be? November 5th. There is an election every year in Utah. This year it's nonpartisan municipal elections. If you live in a city, you likely have something to vote for on November 5th, which means you'll get your mail-in ballot sooner. And making a plan now, putting it in your calendars now, will make you more likely to participate in that election. So planning ahead is important.
Don't go on. Talk about voting.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly about this. 20 years ago, Utah was one of the leaders in the nation in the proportion of eligible voters that voted. Now we're among the bottom in terms of voting, and it is extremely important. There are 25 or 26 of us in this room. If each of us would persuade 10 people to vote, we could make a dramatic difference. So please make up your mind and to identify people and persuade them to vote. It's extremely important.
I'm so glad you said that. Yes, in 2016, we were 39th in the nation for voter turnout. And we had some record turnout in 2016. That shows you how far we have to go, right?
In 2016, 56% of the eligible voters in the United States voted. better than that. Our democracy is at risk. We need to get people to vote.
And then I'm also glad you talked about if all of us registered 10 people to vote, what a difference that would make. So that was my next slide. That's what Voterize is trying to do. They have also noted that there are 288,000 approximately women in Utah who are eligible but are not registered to vote. And they've created this Voterize 2020 challenge, women registering other women to vote, but you don't have to be a woman to do it. Anybody can do it. Even organizations or businesses can sign up to do this. And each person registers, they're looking for 1,000 ambassadors to register 10 people to vote. So please, if you're interested in this, go to voterize.org and you'll find more information on it.
How often do you have to register to vote?
Oh, good question. You only have to register once. However, if you change your address, you will need to re-register. So if you are unsure if you're registered, you can go to that site I told you, vote.utah.org, look up your registration, see if it's current. If your address isn't current, you may not be eligible to vote at your voting location. You may have the wrong voting location, and when you get there, they'll say, you can't vote here. So you need to make sure it's up to date. Yeah.
How do you register people to vote?
Other people? Here's what I would do. I would go to voterize.org and sign up to be a volunteer. And they have a whole package of information. And I don't know what your age is, but you look younger. They also have kits for helping people who are in academic settings to do voter registration drives within schools. So we have some high school interns who are doing it there. You can do it at a college level. I think that's a really, really great resource. There's other organizations too, but they're nonpartisan, and I think that's a really good one. They also have a really, really important track record with getting people to vote who do register. So registering is one step, right? But then you got to get out and vote, right?
Did you have another question over here about voting? No? Okay. So tie this into a couple of the other things we've talked about, experimenting and taking action. Maybe you want to go around to your neighborhood, your precinct, and get to know people, talk to them about voting, and they'll also know your face, so when you run for a delegate, they'll know who you are, right? Or maybe you want to talk to your neighbors and like, hey, have you voted? Are you registered to vote? And you can write a letter to the editor about how you talk to your neighbors and what the statistics are and how we can get more people to the polls, right? All those things are advocacy, and I know that you do them all the time. You're talking to the people all the time anyway, right? Maybe that's a social media post. Just post it on Instagram. Come vote with me today. That's advocacy, right? Okay. Oh, here we are. Build relationships. So I want you to turn to the person on your left. We did your right last time. I want you to turn to the person on your left and say, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I have never talked to an elected official in my life. Or I don't feel like I need to talk to an elected official. Or I've actually talked to an elected official, I've impacted a bill, I've testified on the Hill, whatever it is, turn to your neighbor, and each of you spend some time having some accountability on if you've done something, if you haven't, where you're at. If you haven't done anything, own it. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe this isn't your season to advocate. That's okay. But let's just talk about it here for a minute. You got it? Everybody have a person on your left? Looks like it. Okay, go for it. All right, wrap it up. Thank your partner. Does anyone want to share with the group either what you said or what your partner said? Anybody want to share?
My partner just left, but she's a delegate.
Oh, excellent. Her partner just left, but she's a delegate, so that's awesome. Anyone else want to share? Yeah.
I wrote a letter to the mayor of the city I lived in and kind of like just said no to everything I said. And I think a lot of my information was hearsay and maybe not factual. So I learned that I really need to like do your homework, do my homework, and like be like, these are the statistics.
Okay, so she wrote a letter to the mayor of her city, and he responded.
Kind of like poo-pooed me.
And kind of poo-pooed her, said she didn't really have her facts straight. So awesome for writing, and awesome for wanting to try again, right? And knowing that now maybe you include some facts and maybe where they're from, and yeah, very good. Yeah.
So I attended PTA day at the Capitol.
got the microphone. I attended PTA Day at the Capitol, and some really interesting things I learned when some of the legislators met with our group specifically was that they said when you write to them, if you include in the subject line of the email your name and where you live, or tell them you're a constituent, they said they get so much mail from like spam letter writing campaigns that they just throw it away without reading it. So if you are a constituent, put that in the subject line so that they know, because they will read your email in the subject line, because their aides are going through and just deleting. But if you have that you're a constituent in the subject line, it gets their attention. The second thing we learned is that if they don't have a really strong stance on an issue, if they have a constituent who really cares about something because even like a personal story or reason, they will listen to that story, and if it's a good story, it just kind of sticks in their mind and it helps form their opinions on that issue. So if something really matters to you, their constituent, they will take that with them if they don't already have a really strong opinion on an issue. They might already have a strong opinion, and that may just go into the bin, and they may, consider your feelings as well. So a good story, why it matters to you, and tell them that you're their constituent. If you're just writing a form letter that the PTA or another advocacy group encourages you to write, it's less effective than if you can give your own personal reasons for why you support or oppose something that they're considering.
Excellent. All very true and excellent points. If you're just passing on a form letter that other people have sent you, and they get 500 of those, sometimes they just count them as one, because it's all the same form letter. I think we've decided if you change it about 60%, then they will count it as its own. So you can use some of the key phrases, but you need to put your name on it, all those kind of things. Excellent, great tips, and all important in building relationships. So the Action Utah Way, we believe in civil discourse, in bridge building, like we've talked about, and fact-based solutions for lasting relationships. She just talked about this very good. She's totally on point with this slide. We talk about make it personal. Make sure that you say that you're a constituent, and you can even add your address in the line so that they know. If you're referencing a bill name or number, which you can look up on the website, you can put that in there, or even what the topic is that you're talking about. Make sure you have a compelling story, some facts, some statistics, and then limit to one subject, right? Don't go on about a bunch, because like we said, they're busy. They have other jobs that they're doing, and then make sure you follow up. And sometimes I've just written a thank you. Hey, I noticed that you did this. I noticed in committee meeting you spoke out against this. I really appreciated that. Thank you. One of my favorite stories is from Representative Becky Edwards. She came and talked to the class that I took, and she said, I had this constituent who would always write me about birds. And she would write me every time, and she'd attach these articles, and she became known as the bird lady. And when I had something come across my desk, a bill that I needed to vote on about birds and their habitat in my district, guess who I reached out to? The bird lady, right? Just conversations in the lobby, just conversations on your front porch. That's all this is about, okay? All right, so we have some examples. I want you to think about bridge building, barnstorming, constituents. All right, this is an actual example. Today, you have demonstrated that you value your special interest more than upholding the will of the people you serve. I am absolutely disgusted with you and your colleagues for your replacement to Proposition 2. As a supporter of and beneficiary of Proposition 2, you have denied me access to a substance that could have made the quality of my life much better. Because of your special interest and your failure to serve the people of Utah, I would ask that you resign your position in favor of a representative that will uphold the will of the people. You and all others who have no care for us Utahns will be thrown out. You're a disgrace to this beautiful state. We truly hope you resign and know what a piece of blank you are. Have a wonderful day. I'd recommend using that nearly rotten walnut brain of yours. Does this person have a feeling? Does he or she know their issue? Do they have a compelling story? They have a compelling story. It is compelling. Are there facts and statistics? When they come up against this legislator to talk to them again, have they helped their cause or hurt their cause? Hurt it. Is this an email that maybe should have gone to a friend first? You are welcome to advocate in this way. Totally welcome to advocate in this way. But you just need to ask yourself, is it getting you the results you want? Do we know if they're even a constituent? Is there even a line that says what this whole email is about? No. Okay, how about this one? Constituent, support census funding. Dear, because they are a person and a salutation is important, dear so-and-so, I'm asking you to support Utah's funding for the U.S. Census. I've seen reports of Utah being the fastest growing state in the country. All of our population is represented in the census. I fully support funding and advocacy for participation in the census and ask that you do also. There's a clear call to action, a concerned constituent, name, full address, and zip code. How does that feel? Better? Probably not as much emotion, but is the point across? Is she going to be able to have another conversation when she meets with her legislator? Yeah. Okay? Emotional ones, write them and then send them to a friend. Okay? Because those are important too. It's good that you kind of get up and are concerned about stuff. That's good. And then the last one, do something. Am I constituent? What do you want me to do something about? You want me to pass a bill about pink socks? Like, what is it you want me to do? Like, who even are you? Did you even sign your name? Again, send it to your friend. There's a place for it, but send it to your friend. Okay, and then along with legislators, find some allies, find some advocates who speak your language, who advocate the way you do, and become friends with them. Okay, get on their email list, follow them, and move forward in that way.
Okay, this one may sound a little intimidating to some of you, but I want to remind you that there's a lot of choices of where you can run for office and run for something. Let's say run for something. It doesn't have to be an office. So I've listed a bunch of offices, but then remember that there's also delegate positions. There's positions in your political party. There's positions in your neighborhood community council or your school community council. There's positions on private boards or state boards and commissions. There's a lot of opportunities for leadership, and so this really encompasses all of those. If you're going to run for something, run for some kind of leadership position. Some of them, delegates, it's not that much of a time commitment even, you know. There's not much campaigning to it. It's kind of a baby step to other positions. So if you are considering something, try a baby step. You know, try it out, see what you're like as a candidate, and practice a little bit, and then move on to something bigger. You don't have to make a giant leap right away. I wanted to point out some organizations that are great resources specifically for women who are considering running for office. Real Women Run and the Women's Leadership Institute are two fabulous organizations helping people become candidates, specifically women. You can go to both of their websites to find out what opportunities they have. Real Women Run has a couple of different conferences every year. The next one's coming up in January. And the Women's Leadership Institute has a cohort that's close to free. You're paying for lunch for this incredible opportunity of 6 months of training with really, really amazing people. Springboard Utah is one fewer people know about. This is for women also. This is an organization that's helping women get positions on boards and commissions. It's really helpful because we are underrepresented not only in elected positions but also on boards and commissions. And there's a whole process of networking and sending in your resumes. You can find out about boards and commissions. There's over 400 of them that are established by state statute. If you just look up Utah State Boards and Commissions, there's a website that lists them all and shows you the openings for each one and when you can apply for them. So that's a really great resource to help you get those positions. And then there's others that aren't specific to women, like Emerging Leaders Initiative and Run for Something. So those are the 5 ways that we've talked about getting engaged, advocating. We want to open it up for more questions. I know you've asked some along the way, but we have some time. So if there's other questions for us, please speak up. Absolutely. Bringing your personal stories, bringing your data, being a good civil trustworthy resource for a legislator or an elected official at any level is really, really valued and welcomed. And you ask any legislator up there, and I'll tell you 98% of them will agree with me. There'll be a couple who'll be like, ugh, you know, but honestly, they're good people with good hearts, and they do honestly want to hear from their constituents, and they really do value good, trustworthy information. Bad information, they're not going to trust you next time. Yelling at them in all caps, do something, they're not really going to want to hear from you again. Bring them something valuable, and they'll want to build a relationship with you. Okay, I think we should probably wrap this up. So, you can do this part.
Okay, we want you to leave the room with something to do, right? Something you can do tonight. So either find out who represents you if you haven't done that yet, pick which way you want to get involved, how you want to experiment and start this process, choose an entry point. Maybe there's an organization you've been waiting to sign up for their emails or attend their events, and then subscribe to Action Utah's email list. We do calls to action. We've got a couple of events coming up. Tomorrow is the Nonprofit Association Conference. October 15th here in Provo, we have Faces of Advocacy highlighting women's stories, different ways that women are advocating. That'll be at the Provo Library, so come, bring your friends, come to that. And then during those interim sessions, we have a talk and tour, which will tell you about what's happening up there every lunch, okay? So noon to 1, come visit us up there. If you have questions, we can answer them. Whatever your question is, cynical, like bring them all and let's discuss, okay? And then this, you are powerful. Just remember that. And thank you so much for coming and for participating and for using your voice. We really appreciate it, and we've loved being here and participating in this as well. So thank you.